Greetings gamers, it's Bocho's brother with another video for you. Today we will be sharing the Motherload. I'm sure many of you already are interested in Dungeons & Dragons 5e, and let's see if you know all the books that are out there. We're just going to go through the whole collection and you can check them off the list and also organize them at home also to help build better campaigns if you're a dungeon master, or to decide if you're a player which books you might want to get, because you may not need all of them. The core books are, of course, the Dungeon Master's Guide. This book has great ideas for creating your own adventures, as well as a lot of really good magic items. That's just about all I use it for. I am a dungeon master though, so definitely worth having in the collection. The next book is the Monster Manual. This is fantastic. Again, most useful if you're a dungeon master. As a player, I wouldn't want to necessarily know what all the monsters can do, and so I probably wouldn't buy it if I was just a player. But tons of fantastic monsters, devils, dragons, everything you've ever seen in any TV series, you'll find it here. Game of Thrones, The Witcher, and so on. Very inspired by Dungeons & Dragons and these books. Our next book, and a core book that everybody should have, is the Player's Handbook for 5e. In here you'll find all the core races, the classes, how to play the game, all the magical spells you'll need to cast if you're a caster, equipment. It's absolutely an essential book, and it's gotten a lot of good use. I believe it came out back in 2014 from Renton, Washington. That's where these guys produce Wizards of the Coast. That's a book you're essentially going to want to have, and if you're watching this channel, I bet you already have it. Another book I love to have as a companion to the Player's Handbook is Shanathar's Guide to Everything. What I like best about this book are the extra subclasses you get for all your heroes. Paladins, fighters, warlocks, everybody gets 2 to 3 extra classes. There's also a ton of extra spells that can sometimes be overlooked if you are only with the Player's Handbook. You can forget, oh, I can find tons of extra spells here. So I also recommend getting an app that collects all the spells from all the books I'm showing you, and I will put that in the link below. It makes it much easier when you're creating a character to not have to search back and forth through all these books for all your spells. They're all in one place. So that's your core collection. Now, if you want to get crazy and you want to be a dungeon master, you can run a campaign. You can either come up with the ideas on your own, or you can get a campaign guide. And I haven't bought all of them, but my preferred are the first, this one, the Out of the Abyss, Rage of Demons. This campaign takes place in the Underdark, far below the earth, as the Demogorgon. Seen Stranger Things, he's in here. Demogorgon's in here. Drow, an escape from the Underdark. Blingdenton, funny little gnomes that live down there. Dark Dwergar, and a book that I really want to get into. Haven't had time to run the campaign yet, but it will definitely fit into my campaign that I'm running now. Once you've gone through the Underdark and the demons, you can go next to Baldur's Gate and then to Avernus. Now, what I didn't know when I first started playing Dungeons & Dragons is that devils and demons are not the same thing. The demons are living in the abyss. They are demons such as the Demogorgon, and devils are a little bit more lawful, the lawful evil, and they live in the 9 hells, which is a different dimension, and they are at a constant war with the demons of the abyss. So combining these two books, your characters will be able to portal out of whatever world they're in and end up in these horrible, terrible places. The next one, and this is the campaign I'm running now, and this is a special collector's edition cover, is the Frost Maiden, Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden. This book has plenty of good adventures, little towns that you can find around Icewind Dale, but it's something that can easily be incorporated to whatever campaign you're in. Currently, I'm using the Frost Maiden in my Ethris campaign, which is taking place up here in Thrall and Kandar, this area that is all kind of snow and ice. So combining that with your campaign there is going to be fantastic. Moving on, we have the Dragon Heist in Waterdeep. This book was fantastic. It was built in coordination with Matthew Mercer from Critical Role, and it has 4 different ways of running the adventure. You can run it in the winter, or in the fall, or the spring, or the summer, and in each scenario the adventure will be different, with a different arch enemy to fight as you try to find all the gold that's been heisted out of Waterdeep. Excellent book, highly recommend it. Our stack is getting higher, but we're only halfway there, my friends. As we continue with campaigns, we have the Tales from the Yawning Portal. This book is really enjoyable. I like it as well. It takes place at the Yawning Portal, which is a tavern in Waterdeep, and you get around 8 unique adventures that all take place in different locations, in different times. They are the top, it's not 8, it's 7. The top 7 adventures of all time from Dungeons and Dragons have been put into this book. It's a little bit more old school, that you get a quest to go to a dungeon, and the entire campaign takes place around just that dungeon. And it can connect into the other campaign dungeons, but it's not like these other books where it's just one campaign. This is 7 different unique adventures. And closely tied to the Yawning Portal is the Ghosts of Saltmarsh. This is also a collector's edition cover, and it is also connected to Tales of the Yawning Portal in that it is another 8 adventures unique to seafaring boats, Pirates of the Caribbean, this kind of theme, black sails, but unique dungeons, each one not necessarily connected to the other, but they can take your adventures from levels 1 up to as far as you want to go, depending on how you would want to mod the adventure. But I suppose you could go up to level 15 with these and be inspired with tons of ideas that you could use just one or all of them. And I'm currently using this in my Ethris campaign, making it take place down here in this area of Charnault. We have Saltmarsh in my campaign. So we're running Icewind Dale up here and Saltmarsh down here. Now that we're through with the campaigns, we get into the world building. There's all kinds of different worlds. This book here is the Sword Coast Adventures Guide, and this book helps you understand the entire world of Dungeons and Dragons, where it takes place. Here you get a map of the world, and here you can actually see Icewind Dale is up here. I believe Saltmarsh you can place anywhere you want, all the way down the coast. And this is a great campaign guide if you want to strictly run your adventures in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, where it takes place. And it has some good background additions as well as character building options. Another one, and we made a separate video on this expressly about the Explorer's Guide to Wildemount, which is Matt Mercer and Critical Role's world. I found this book to be really good. Lots of extra spells, new classes like the chronology magic, as well as wizards who can crush things, a graviturgy, I believe it's pronounced, a wizard, as well as a fighter who can duplicate himself. Lots of new classes, lots of new races. It's a good thick book, and this would take you to Exandria. That's the world where all of this takes place, and this is just one continent in Exandria. in the northern central part. There's 3 or 4 campaigns in here, short ones, and I will also be using this book, which has a campaign that takes place in the far north regarding a great worm that is being awoken that's driving people crazy around the ice. And I will also use this in my campaign here in the north of Etheris. Following that book, we have Tal'Dorei, which we also talk about in another video, and this also takes place in the world of Exandria by Matt Mercer and Critical Role, and it's a continent far to the west from their campaign 1. It has great new character options such as the Blood Cleric. It also has great options for new combat and death resolution, and many new magical items well worth the purchase. So that's taking your world to Exandria. We have another world. We're almost there, but this one is Eberron. This would be to make your Dungeons and Dragons adventuring a little bit more, I don't want to say futuristic, but there are flying airships, there are tinkerers, there are artificers, and you have as well these robotic men in here that you can play as a player race. These guys, the Warforged. So this also has great potential. I don't think it will fit into the campaign I'm running just now, but you do have a lot of new monsters. You get the Artificer class. This one too is a collector's edition cover, and I think it's well worth having for perhaps a future campaign. A little bit more, I don't want to say Shadowrun, but they called it Dark Noir or something like that, where you're more like detectives in a rainy big city, and that is Eberron. And from Eberron you can go to the Mythic Odyssey of Theros. This would give your Dungeons and Dragons campaign a more Greek feel to it. There's much more of a connection to the gods, new gods, Greek mythology, new class options, and new race options like the Satyr and so on. Great monsters in the back, and this also is a collector's edition cover, which I just love, and perhaps something for the future in the summer or something, where it's hot outside, you're going to different islands, adventuring, Hercules, lions, these kind of things. And this one they have not made for 5e yet, but it is one of my favorites, and so it's the only book I kept from 4th edition. It's Dark Sun and the World of Athos. Dark Sun is a planet that's been destroyed by the use of magic. It's a giant desert with 2 suns, and the most extremely dangerous world in the world of Dungeons and Dragons. Dragon Kings are the only ones in power, and they watch over city-states. And I hope they come out with this book for 5th edition, but definitely a campaign I would like to participate in, and with new races such as the Mole, which is half human, half dwarf. Lots of excellent monsters, scorpions, sand creatures, and dying of hunger and heat exhaustion, cactuses that attack you. Excellent world. This is the Dark Sun, and on the Facebook group you can find material that's for 5e from Dark Sun. Some people have completely translated the book. This is the monster manual for Dark Sun, 4th edition. On the cover you see a Dragon King there. They've just become emaciated and skinny, losing their wings, but they use psionic powers to destroy their minions, and they have Templars who are brutal running the city-states. So definitely wanted to keep on to that. And then this is really old school. This one is Dark Sun's 2nd edition. I got a copy. It originally came out in 2nd edition. This one is the Dragon Kings. Very wacky stuff in here. It's fun to take a blast to the past, and also seeing the artwork of Brahm, which is incredible. However, functionality in a campaign or something like that, it was just too far out to use as a source book for what I'm doing, but it's fun to have. And now with that, we're getting down to the last books, which are the monster guides. You had the original monster manual, but then you have Volo's Guide to Monsters. The thing I love about this book is not only do you get a bunch of new monsters to play with, they give you an entire background and history of each of the different kind of monster races. Like, why do giants act the way they do? What's a beholder like? And so on and so forth. Yuan-Ti are in here. Here we go. Look at this. Look at this. Close your eyes if you have any children watching. But this is a dissected Mind Flayer with the new Baldur's Gate game coming out. That was just awesome. And I really like the section on gnolls, these different kinds of gnolls and their god and everything. So highly recommended that to add to your monster manual collection. And then we have Mordekainen's Tome of Foes, which is similar to Volo's Guide to Monsters, with a whole new slew of monsters. Their backgrounds can be great inspiration for your next campaign. They especially go into demons, devils, and give you a lot more background on elves and halflings and dwarves and their cultures as well. So really enjoyed that book. A fun book to read before you go to bed at night, to fill your mind with different fantasy ideas for your campaign. And the next book is the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. This one is based on Magic the Gathering. I was hesitant to get it because I haven't played Magic since the 90s, and I thought I don't want to run a D&D campaign in the world that takes place in Ravnica. However, the book was incredibly useful because they have some really awesome new races, and they also have a whole lot of great monsters, new spells, and even a small campaign you can run. You can bring in the Seraph Angels or the Sengir Vampires. If you can still get a hold of this book, I would definitely recommend it for your collection. And to round us off, we have videos on these. These are all 5e content, mostly, except for Dark Sun. So this is like the collection you can get if you're buying 5e, and I bet there's about 7 or 8 more books, maybe 10, if you wanted the entire collection. But for me, that's enough. That's where I say stop. And then there's these Kickstarters like Strongholds and Followers. You can see the video on my channel where I review this book to build yourself a stronghold, get yourself some minions to follow you around, and have something to spend your gold on. Also excellent monsters and an adventure in this book. And the final one, the one I kicked my channel off with, of course, is Grim Hollow. Lots of great content in here that you'll find on my channel. And their next book should be arriving from the Kickstarter we did, along with figures and extra material, hopefully this fall. So, without further ado, welcome to the Motherload, and I hope you're enjoying your Dungeons and Dragons, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.